Welcome to 49 Yard Dash Podcast, the podcast on your San Francisco 49ers. I'm Steven, I'm hosting every week. Of course, every week we got Josh, and we got, both of our guests this time. We got Luke and Nick this week. So it's pretty special stuff this week, man. And to give them a proper introduction, I feel like these guys are definitely deserving.
I thought I took over as the host for my performance last week. I thought it was okay.
It was pretty good, but not that good.
Yeah, once you get your head coach a green card, then you can take over.
All right.
All right, man. Starting off strong.
All right. So this is seems like this is the norm now, but we are going over another 49ers loss. And Nick, in case anybody's wondering, that's a monkey in a shower. And I don't know why. That's what we're doing. And everybody probably can recognize that body behind Luke. That's actually a self-portrait of Luke.
The body of a true quarterback right there, baby.
I would just like to bring up the fact that we're not even 30 seconds into the show and it's already Durant.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Nick is actually muted right now because he's laughing. He can't control himself.
I can't stop laughing.
Just because of a freaking monkey.
I started it twice. All right, sorry,
I'm
Steve,
good,
go
man.
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
Be
no.
sure to mute the rest of us.
Yeah.
We'll raise our hands. We're ready to comment.
Raise your hands. That'll work, man. You know, it seems like whenever we have Luke, especially, we're reviewing losses. I'm pretty tired of it. It'd be nice to be able to have a guest after a win. But in order for that to happen, the 49ers would have to win. So, we're at a crossroads here. They've lost 4 straight games. They're at 2-4. A little frustrating. A lot of people are panicking. How are we feeling, guys? And I'm not going to take a deep dive into this week's game like I normally do, mainly because I just don't feel like it. But give me overall thoughts about the game, just to summarize it, how you thought about it. Josh, you seem like you're ready to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I'm ready, man. We'll go round table.
Yeah,
Jock's 94.5 round table, baby. No, I don't know, man. It's funny how every bad game Jimmy has, it's always an injury, right? He's always recovering from an injury or always dealing with an injury. He gets in the post-game press conference and I ask him, "How's your quad doing, Jimmy?" And he goes, "Well, I was able to play through it, but it could have been better." Okay. What's the big deal with that? Friggin' Ronnie Lott played through a game when he had part of his finger cut off. What the heck does a little quad tightness have to do with you not airmailing it in quadruple coverage? Has nothing to do with it. Kyle Shanahan gets to the post-game press conference and says, "Yeah, it wasn't one of Jimmy's best games." Okay, that's a breath of fresh air for him to be able to say that. But spoiler alert, Carson Wentz went out there and played in the same conditions, is a worse quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance have proven to be so far in their careers, even though Trey Lance only played a couple games. Carson Wentz is not an above-average starting quarterback, and yet he was able to deliver a win for the Indianapolis Colts. So I find it odd that here we are, several weeks into the year, at the cataclysmic point of the season, with the playoffs on the line, with the future on the line. We don't have a first-round pick this year, and instead of trotting out the quarterback who is actually worth a crap, we're going to stick with the guy who throws a check down 5 yards out, makes his receiver stop for it every time, does not move the chains, cannot run, is always hurt, and anytime he airmails a pass in a quadruple coverage, blames it on a tweak in his ankle. That's where I'm at.
Wow. Yeah, it's good to know. Let them know, man. Let them know what's up.
Yeah, man.
Luke?
So where's our run game at? Like, I feel like that game, the conditions, everything was really set up for us to just run it down their throats. And we started out running okay, right? And then it just seemed to disappear. But I don't know, man. It was a strength the past couple of years, the run games. Man, Shanahan could have anybody back there dial anything up, and that's what really opened up Jimmy to be a halfway recognizable quarterback, which he's not anymore because we can't run the ball. I don't know, man. I think the defense is pretty dang good because they're in every game. It's just there's no fluid offense, man, ever.
One thing I'd like to add to Luke's point, Steve, I'll cut you off, talking about the run game. You can't have a run game if you don't have a quarterback who can deliver the football. Why not just stack the box every time and leave everybody out on an island? Elijah Mitchell's a 6th-round pick. Raheem Mostert's out. JaMycal Hasty has looked like crap. He tripped on a wheel route, 3 or 4 times, thrice times throughout the game. Sunday night, couldn't even stay on his feet. Of course, the field was slippery. It's, I think, more so the running game, not to argue, but I do think it's more so due to the fact that why would we respect the passing game and drop some guys back in coverage, put some linebackers or some safeties on the field instead of just lining everybody up in man and sacking the box and stopping the run when you got a 6th-round pick. As good as Elijah Mitchell's been, Trey Sermon didn't play 1 snap. Elijah Mitchell and JaMycal Hasty were your 2 running backs, and neither one of those guys are Raheem Mostert. So, I mean, if that's what you got and that's what you're relying on, and with the quarterback who is 0 threat in the run game, who they are begging him to keep it on the edge, that's kind of where you're at in the run game. Is if we're just going to stack the box and run into that every time, of course we're not going to have 70-yard runs, especially with Raheem Mostert.
There's definitely some truth to defenses playing up because they're not worried about the deep threat at all. But I must say, Mitchell had 107 yards on 18 attempts. That's 5.9 yards a carry and a touchdown. The problem is, and I think this might be even maybe what Luke was more alluding to, is that they went away from it too. Because even Darius Leonard, the linebacker in Indianapolis, who was fantastic, by the way, but even he had a quote after the game that said, they're really fooling us and getting us on some misdirection runs and some creative stuff early. And I'm really glad that they went away from it, because the second half they stopped running the ball. But when they did it, Elijah Mitchell was pretty successful. It's funny, him and Jonathan Taylor both had 18 attempts, both had 107 yards exactly, and both had 1 touchdown. They had identical games. But the explosive factor that was there last year definitely isn't there. We haven't seen any of the 50 to 70-yard runs that we did last year. But Mitchell's been good for real. I'm really happy with Mitchell.
No, and he has. And part of the issue with not getting the home run hits on the runs is Raheem Mostert is the fastest running back in the NFL.
Wrong sport, Josh.
What?
Sorry. You said home runs.
Oh.
I think you're in the wrong sport, Bucko.
Why don't you get out of the shower? Someone's occupying it.
Hey, man.
Raheem Mostert's fastest running back in the NFL. He can shoot 3-pointers like Steph Curry. He can he can hit a slap shot like Sidney Crosby, man. Home runs like Yasiel Puig, man. That's part of the issue with it. If you look back historically at the 49ers, especially in the playoff run that led to the Super Bowl here a couple of years ago, they didn't grind it out, ironically enough, as this guy did, Jim Harbaugh. It wasn't even 3 to 4 yards a carry, which was the Harbaugh style, was, hey, we're going to ground and pound you, and we're going to put our foot on your neck until you break. And eventually you are going to break. And that's the whole model that Jim Harbaugh left. Kyle Shanahan is, we're going to run into a loaded box until you're sick of it. And then eventually our guy's going to hit a home run. And sorry, wrong sport, Nick. But that's what Raheem Mostert did oftentimes in the playoffs. It was 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard, and then 50-yard gain down the field inside the red zone, punching it for a touchdown. It wasn't consistent Harbaugh-esque drives like we saw in the past regime, where it's just building and building and churning and finally wearing them out to the point where they don't even want anything to do with it anymore. And that's part of the issue now, is you're running the same plays, and it worked before when you had a home run hitting running back. Wrong sport, Nick. But this time around, when you've got a ground and pound guy like Mitchell, now he is legit, and I do appreciate that. He's going to be a great 1-2 punch with Mostert. He's not a home run hitter. He's a between the tackles guy who's going to get you those yards, and you need that kind of change up, or rather that fastball, to punch it down the field. And we just don't have that this year. It's one of those things where you're churning out yards. It's as great of a game as Mitchell had, but had you had a guy like Mostert in there, I think you would have seen them maybe stick with the run game a little bit more. Maybe it was bad play calling, but that is the biggest issue as far as with the run game over the years. Is it's not necessarily a churning butter deal. It's grinding it out 1 yard, 2 yards at a time, and then eventually they break a big run, which makes the stats a little skewed to make it look like they actually had a huge game.
No, it's true. A lot of it was one explosive thing, and suddenly that's what gets him over 100 yards or whatever. But they don't have that same explosive factor in the run game so far this year. Two, I wanted to just touch on the quarterback thing. I'll stay relatively brief, but I thought, Wentz didn't play great, and I didn't even expect great quarterback play no matter who was there because of the conditions, and that's fine. But when it really mattered, Carson Wentz made game-winning plays and Jimmy Garoppolo didn't, and that's just the reality of it. Real quick, let me touch on, do you remember the interception to Debo? A lot of people are saying it should have been caught, which might even be true. But honestly, I think the problem is even outside of that. So it's been trending on Twitter, and Nick's taking a shower again. But it's been
I was taking a drink of water, man.
No, man, that's all right. You take a drink of water in the shower. Sorry.
True that, man. It's been trending on Twitter that Mohamed Sanu got wide open, and it would have been, it probably would have been a touchdown on that play. But he decided to go to Debo. And I saw some people defend it. Like, well, he went to his best guy one-on-one and threw the ball, and Debo probably should have caught it. I'm like, even if that's true, the problem is, again, it's another example of pre-snap, before the play even starts, locking on one guy. And he always does that. And I think that's a big reason why he does throw picks, is he predetermines where he's going to go to with the ball before the play even starts, because I think Shanahan draws up plays where this is the go-to guy, and he's like, all right, well, I'm going there. Doesn't matter what happens around it. I'm going there. Kyle said to go there, and that's what he does.
Yeah, and Jimmy kind of reminds me, ironically enough, as big of a Michigan fan as I am, he kind of reminds me of our quarterback this year, K. McNamara, Kyle Trask last year, I believe, at Florida. Some of these other guys who don't have a huge arm, and they are great in a 5-wide scheme where they can read the defense at the line of scrimmage and predetermine where they're going with the ball. If it requires them to come off their second read and make something happen with their feet, move around in the pocket, look downfield, work with the receiver, make something happen on their own, they cannot do it. Kyle Trask was so successful at Florida and has not been successful with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In fact, he was a 4th-string quarterback through fall camp with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was supposed to be the backup. And potentially the future of Tom Brady. It's because these college quarterbacks, it's similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, when they're put in a scheme that requires them to come off of their first and potentially second read, they cannot make the play. That's been Michigan's issues this year. That's what held Florida back last year with Kyle Trask. That's what's held many college programs back. And it's unfortunate now to even compare a college quarterback with the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. And that's what Jimmy Garoppolo is. Maybe you have him in a 5-wide scheme where he has the defense spread out and he can look at where the cornerbacks, linebackers, safeties are lined up. And he can say, okay, in this scenario, when Debo breaks to the inside, if the linebacker goes with him, I'm going to go outside of Brandon Ayuk. And if the linebacker doesn't break, I'm going inside of Debo. Well, in this scheme in the NFL, that's not how it works, man. And like you said, Steve, had he come off the first read, he would have seen Sanu was wide open. The issue was when the ball was out was when Sanu was breaking open. He didn't even take the time to wait on the play. He said it's 3rd and 3 or 4th and 3 or whatever, and I'm going to get the first down. So 3rd and 3. I am going to get the first down. He didn't wait on the play to develop. It was a pure deal where Kyle said, this is the play. He knew from practice, this is my first read. Doesn't matter who the best wide receiver is or not. It was the first read. He didn't come off the first read, didn't look at his options. He went there and passed it. And if it was, like I said many times in the last 2 minutes, if it was a 5-wide college system, that's great. In the NFL, not so much.
I know what you mean. Nick, how does it make you feel that this year's 49ers have gotten off to a 2-4 start when we had high hopes for them, man?
Listen, I'm what you call a fake fan.
That's what I
When the
call it.
49ers are doing well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't seen a game. So this whole thing
He's gonna
has
admit
been
that.
gibberish to me. Uh,
Sheesh.
with that being said, I know one thing. Jimmy G, I think he dated a porn star at one point.
Sure
That
did.
was kind of cool. uh, so, and with that
I
being
did-
said,
I did
you
not
said there's a
anticipate
guy.
this.
You said there's a guy named, I think, Moodster or something like that. And that kind of sounds like
It is Moodster. It is.
it's
Yeah.
Moodster.
Yep.
Okay, well that kind of sounds like the cheese Munster. I like that cheese. I put it on my grilled cheese sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sharp cheddar, but it's not like it doesn't have as much sharp flavor. I was also just gonna ask Luke my question. All right, so how you doing, Luke?
Sweet mother of God.
I'm doing pretty well, man. How about you? Thanks for asking.
Yeah, man, I'm doing all right as well.
Yeah, good, man. How about you?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, stop. We've
Well,
had
just let me ask one thing. To all three of you guys.
fine.
Okay, so you're at a restaurant and they have pizza and they also have calzones on the menu. Are you ordering a pizza or are you ordering a calzone?
I'm ordering a salad because I'm fat.
Well, if you're fat, then you would double down on it and order
Okay,
either a
I'm
pizza
ordering-
or a calzone.
Okay, I'm getting a large pepperoni mushroom just for myself. My wife will have a salad.
Okay. How about you guys? Calzone or pizza?
What kind of crust we talking?
It's whatever crust you want. They have multiple. They have like thin crust. They have
Ooh,
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if I can
Yeah.
pick my crust, I'm going pizza, man. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Steve?
Do I get marinara sauce on the side?
Wait, what?
Do I get marinara sauce or ranch on the side?
What type of stupid question is that, Steve?
All right. Well, I'm not answering it.
I
then.
mean, okay.
Jerk face.
It's 25 cents extra, but you can get it. Yeah.
All right. I'll take some ranch and a calzone. Yeah.
Ranch? Okay, whatever. So for me, like if I see a pizza on a menu and there's nothing else on the menu, I'm like, oh, I might have that pizza. But if I'm at a pizza place and they have calzones, I'm getting the calzone every single time.
That's very nice, Nick.
That's
Yeah.
great, Nick. That's
I like
great.
salami in my calzones too instead of
I would like for you to
pepperonis.
shut the heck up, please.
Nick,
Okay.
Nick, we've really enjoyed having you.
Alright, I'll dip out, guys.
No,
No, don't leave.
no. So,
we want you here.
so a fun little exercise we'll do. There's no point in reviewing the game, guys. Steve mentioned it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
It was a disaster, despite being in the rain. Nick, the monkey in the shower, whatever. Luke in the nipples. Steve, the
Controversy.
omen in the future. Yeah, shit,
God.
controversy. And I mean, the booger picker. It is what it is, man. But no, I mean, last week obviously was a travesty. But here's the bigger issue, guys. And I would like for even Nick to commentate on this, Mr. Calzone.
What do you mean, even Nick? Like I'm
Well,
not an
you
essential
just
part of
made
this.
it. You're an essential part. So we'll start. I want to go through the last few draft classes. We'll exclude the Trey Lance pick. But starting in 2016, right? Even before Kyle Shanahan, just see what kind of leads up to it. Would you rather have Joshua Garnett, offensive guard, Stanford, or Robert Kimdichie, defensive tackle, Ole Miss, Emmanuel Ogbah, defensive end, Oklahoma State, Jalen Smith, linebacker, Notre Dame, Hunter Henry, right now starting tight end for the New England Patriots, or Xavier Howard, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
From Baylor. Joshua Garnett's not even in the league. He didn't even make it 3 years, man. He was cut on his 3rd year. Horrible.
I'll take
pick,
that guy
right?
then.
Yeah, great picnic.
What
Moving
number?
on to
What number was that, Josh?
Oh, let's see. It was
Are these first?
Xavier Howard was picked in the 2nd round. This is late in the 1st round.
Okay.
28th overall, Joshua Garnett.
Gotcha.
1st round, 28th pick. 1st round selection, number 7 overall was DeForest Buckner. So that was a good pick.
Mhm.
But Joshua Garnett had an additional pick, had a chance to pick Xavier Howard, who's one of the best NFL quarterbacks right now. Pass on. Moving on to 2017.
Hold on. Wait.
Go ahead, Steve.
Before each of these, if you don't mind, ask
Sure.
me, and I don't know if Luke remembers the years. I happen to pull it up. Ask me before each year who I wanted. Just to.
Okay. Who did you want, Steve?
In 2017, when they had the 3rd pick, I wanted Jamal Adams the most.
Yeah, we're not in 2017 yet. I was reading 2016. I started out in 2016 with Josh Garnett. We're about to.
I thought you moved on to 17. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm here at 2017 now. 2016 though, dude, freaking Xavier Howard or even Hunter Henry dynamic duo with George Kittle make a heck of a lot different. All right.
Yeah.
2017. Nick, for a 49ers fan like you, this was the year the Bears traded up for Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep.
And the 49ers passed on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Number 3 overall, 49ers originally took Solomon Thomas, defensive end / defensive tackle, Stanford. Projected originally as the best defensive lineman in the draft. Me and Steve watched this draft together. I believe Nick was there as well, actually. And we were actually hyped for this guy. Thought like he was going to be pretty good on the inside. But who did you pass on? Jamal Adams, like Steve said, 6 overall. Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the NFL, at 8 overall. Patrick Mahomes, who fell to the Chiefs at 10. Deshaun Watson, he is. Despite his interceptions this year, Deshaun Watson at 12 overall, the Houston Texans. And then rounding out the 1st round, Marlon Humphrey, one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, Baltimore Ravens, 16th overall. Tre'Davious White, 27th overall, Buffalo Bills. Jabril Peppers, Cleveland Browns, 25. TJ Watt.
Sorry.
TJ Watt, 30th.
Is that JJ's brother?
Yeah.
It is JJ's brother. So you
That's
passed on those guys for Solomon Thomas, who is a bench rotator at best right now. And then you traded it back up into the 1st round at number 31 overall for Reuben Foster. And you passed on the likes of Kevin King, who's a starting cornerback in the NFL, went to the Green Bay Packers. Buda Baker, Dalvin Cook, you passed on. These are the guys. Marcus Williams, right after Dalvin Cook. Joe Mixon. These are the guys that the 49ers front office passed on. 1 year. Who would you have taken, Nick? Out of all those quarterback selection defensive players, who would you have taken over Solomon Thomas? Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, who would you taken?
He's going to say something stupid. I'm just letting you know now.
He is, man. He's going to take Tokyo Drift again.
No, I'll never do that. Oh man. Can you repeat all of the names that you just said?
Good God.
All of them.
Nick would have taken Patrick Mahomes. Luke, who
No. That guy, I think he sounds kind of funny, so I wouldn't want him on my team.
Who? Deshaun Watson?
Sure, why not?
All right. Deshaun
Who
Watson.
did you want? Who did we want at the time? Let's mention that.
Yeah. So at the time, I wanted Jamal Adams.
Me
I was
too.
high on that guy, man. I wanted
Me
Jamal
too.
Adams bad.
I think all of us did. Actually.
In hindsight,
Yeah, I think that's right, man.
in hindsight, I would have loved Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson or Christian McCaffrey.
Sure.
But I wanted Jamal Adams at safety, man. I wanted him bad.
As we go through this, I just want
Sure.
to be able to show that we, being 3 or 4 couch potatoes who have no credentials whatsoever, would have drafted better in the 1st round. So let's go.
All right,
next
all
year.
right, so we would have taken Jamal Adams or Deshaun Watson.
Jamal Adams would have been the guy.
We would have taken Jamal Adams or the quarterback. All right, moving on to 2018. Number 9 overall, starting right tackle for the San Francisco 49ers, Mike McGlinchey, Notre Dame, with all his struggles. We've talked about him at nauseum. Who do we pass on, guys? Minka Fitzpatrick. Number 11, the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
Vita Vea, defensive tackle of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tremaine Edmonds, who's the starting middle linebacker right now for the Buffalo Bills, although that's not a
really
position
good.
you need. He's really good. Derwin James, safety to the Los Angeles Chargers. These are back-to-back picks. And then 3 back-to-back picks. Jair Alexander, arguably the best cornerback in the NFL right now. 18th overall, the Green Bay Packers. Frank Ragnow, the best interior offensive lineman right now, even over Steve Quentin Nelson, in my opinion. Arguably, if Steve disagrees, he's the best. He's the best. Well, he's the best center in football right now. We'll say one of the better offensive linemen to give you.
He's a great center.
He's the best center.
But he's the best center in football, and he's a top 2 interior offensive lineman in the NFL. Frank Ragnow.
I'll say top 3.
Top 2.
Top 1.
Calvin Ridley goes 26. Lamar Jackson goes 32. Not that was a pick we would take. But who would you guys have taken at number 9? You passed on Minka Fitzpatrick.
I was all in on Minka. I was all in on Minka.
I was all in on Minka too. Luke?
Yeah, obviously, because I'm partial to Alabama anyways. But yeah, it was Minka for sure.
Nick, who would you have taken?
Deshaun Watson.
Just say Minka.
Yeah, that guy. Deshaun Watson, yeah. I would have time traveled.
Yeah. Here's 2019, fellas.
They got this one right.
Good. We got this one right. Let's see.
But it was as easy as as easy as
pie.
1, 2, 3 as pie, you know. Number 2 sitting there was
Nick Bosa.
I mean, that's like the Jaguars.
The only guys that you passed on. The only guys you passed on potentially that could have been picked at number 2 would have been T.J. Hawkinson, Ed Oliver, Devin Bush. None of those guys deserve to be picked at number 2. Although Devin Bush is one of the better interior linebackers in the NFL.
Biased.
Yeah, there you go. T.J. Hawkinson is one of the better tight ends, and Ed Oliver is a good defensive.
Did he come
but
from
Nick
Michigan?
Bosa was Devin Bush did. But Nick Bosa is yeah, he does. But Nick Bosa was the right pick, like we talked about. And that's a no-brainer, though. We needed a defensive lineman, and he was the best defensive lineman on the board. It didn't take a lot of thinking. 2020 is where things get interesting here, fellas. Let's see here. Let's find it.
I remember this draft well.
I remember in 2020 there was this little disease that was going around.
No, yeah, that was later on. So 2020.
Yeah.
Just reminding us here, at the end of 2019, the 49ers played for the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. They weren't led by Jimmy Garoppolo. They weren't led by Raheem Mostert. They were led by their defensive line and the eliteness of it. They were led by the likes of DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. And instead, DeForest Buckner was willing to take a hometown discount.
It was.
But instead of meeting him in the middle, they decided to trade him because they didn't want to pay him anything. And they picked Eric Armstead over him. So with the 14th pick in the NFL draft via the Indianapolis Colts, the 49ers select DeForest Buckner's replacement, Javon Kinlaw, who is potentially right now out for the season.
Let's add, though, that they were at 13 and then traded back for more picks.
They were at 13. That is a great point. At 13 overall, they could have had Tristan Wirfs, who is currently starting at offensive tackle.
He's one of the best right tackles in the game already.
For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, protecting Tom Brady. That's who the 49ers passed on.
And let me add also real quick. There were 4 big-time tackles in this draft, being in order of how they were drafted. Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, who was from Alabama, Luke, Mekhi Becton from Louisville, and Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. Andrew Thomas was from Georgia, I didn't say.
And Tristan Wirfs is arguably the best of them both. I'm sorry, go ahead.
He is. I had them ranked in the exact opposite order that they went. I had Wirfs. Becton and Wills were really close, but I edged Becton just because he's such a freak of nature. And then Andrew Thomas 4th. And let me just say that I've been exactly right on that. So I just want to
have. So here's the guys you passed on. So we'll count the trade down. Obviously passed on Jedrick Wills. I mean, not Jedrick Wills, passed on Tristan Wirfs, who could be starting at either side right now.
Imagine him instead of McGlinchey with Trent
Imagine
Williams.
him instead of McGlinchey. Imagine him instead of McGlinchey. Imagine him instead of Trent Williams and all that cap space that comes with it.
Yeah.
Even potentially. So you passed on Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Cesar Ruiz, who is another stout interior offensive lineman. And then you came back and picked Brandon Ayuk at 25.
Which they traded up for.
They did trade up for him. But you passed on potential impact guys, so you might not even have to trade for Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Justin Jefferson. You picked Javon Kinlaw, who has not played a freaking down worth of crap this year.
And he might be out for the year, I just read.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. He might even be out for the year. And that's
fun fact. Jerry Jeudy is actually Judge Judy's third cousin.
I thought that was your son.
Huh?
Good one, Nick.
Thank you.
Nick's our correspondent.
Yeah, I'm on the scene.
Well, and then you go into 2020. No, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Let me throw in one more thing before.
Sure.
So they traded up for Ayuk, and Ayuk had a really good rookie year, and now no one really knows what the heck is going on there because he seems like a really talented guy just based on last year. We don't know what the heck is going on. Just this past week against Indianapolis, and I don't know if it's his fault or Kyle's, but he was not an impact player at all against Indianapolis. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks later, the guy who won the game was picked, Michael Pittman, the guy who made all the big plays and won the game for him. Why did you have to trade up? Ayuk probably would have been available at 31 anyways, where they were.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know what's funny is, ironically enough, if you had flipped, taken Ayuk at 14, trading back, you could have taken Ayuk at 14, and then you probably would have had Javon Kinlaw in the same spot you took Ayuk. I don't think anybody was picking him either. But it's just the fact, and we've talked about this off air, and I'd like for Luke to comment on it if possible, because we're going to disregard Nick and everything he has to say. But it does seem like the 49ers passed on talent to pick a culture fit. And a culture fit is fine. I'll preface it with that before I turn it over. A culture fit is fine. But if the talent isn't there, then why do you take it? Ayuk's had some issues. He doesn't look like he's put on weight. We speculated about that. It has to be some kind of mental lapse for him. And obviously CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy don't have that. So what do you think the issue with Ayuk is, Luke? And if you could do it over again, would you have taken Kinlaw and Ayuk, or would you have taken one of the other guys and then let the cards fall where they may towards the later end of the first round and go from there?
It's tough, man, because honestly, I was pretty frustrated that they let Buckner go to start with. I mean, in the first few years, dude was an absolute beast. And you just let him go. And I don't know why you keep somebody like that in hopes to, I don't know, draft somebody who's half as good. I don't even know what they're thinking. They're like they're really found talent. And if you have him, then, man, you've got a star wide receiver now. You got CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy or whoever. You wouldn't even have to pick Kinlaw. I don't know. It just all fell apart from there. And I feel like they thought they had a hole to fill or whatever. But
so if you could do it over again, and you had 14, let's not count Tristan Wirfs, because that's a mishap on the 49ers part. And to be fair, Tristan Wirfs was a great offensive tackle. However, he did struggle mightily when he went up against top tier Big Ten competition. He struggled when he went up against Michigan in 2019. He struggled when he went up against Wisconsin. He struggled when he went up against an undefeated Minnesota. But he's been great in the NFL. So, arguably that speaks more towards Iowa. So we'll brush him as.
He was a top 5 on my big board.
No, he's a great offensive lineman, and arguably his struggles speak more so to the fact
retard.
That's a great one, Steve. Throwing out the R word. Arguably, Tristan Wirfs' struggles speak more to the fact that he was the only one worth the crap on Iowa's offensive line, and they just went at him to keep the other side of the offensive line overwhelmed. But if you could do it over again, Luke, you got pick 14. Tristan Wirfs is off the board, one of the better offensive tackles. You got pick 25. Who do you take? Do you take Kinlaw? Do you take IU at 25? Who are the guys you're taking? And if you need some help, I'll give you some of the names again.
No, instead of Brandon Ayuk at 25.
Yeah. So, instead of Kinlaw at 14, who would you have taken? You got CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, AJ Terrell.
It would have been a stud receiver. I felt like you had a few stud receivers in there, and it would have been one of them.
Yep.
And you liked Jeudy the best at the time, right?
I did, yeah. And
I was a big Jeudy guy too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had Jeudy slightly above CeeDee as my number one receiver in that one, but I did think that CeeDee was a really good fit, so I said I'm fine with either one.
I would have been.
You did.
Yeah.
I think, and like Steve said, if I remember correctly, we were all Jeudy guys, but Steve was kind of more on the fence. And me and Luke, we both wanted Jeudy really bad. And then at 25, you've got Brandon Ayuk. Do you take him, or do you take potentially Patrick Queen, who's a starting linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Michael Pittman Jr., who just whooped us on Sunday, Xavier McKinney, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Cole Kmet, starting tight end for the Chicago Bears, Antonio Winfield Jr., starting safety for the Buccaneers. Who do you take, Luke?
I probably would have gone defense at that point. And I know I sound biased to say I like McKinney. I don't know any of the other guys well enough to compare them to, but I think I would have gone the defensive part of it after that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. That's exactly where I would have went to. I would have went Alabama guys back to back. Yeah, if I could do it over again, Jeudy and McKinney, be great, because Tart for, I think it was, and this was my God, I'm gonna sound like an idiot for not remembering his name. Steve, who's the controversial guy in the 49ers media who we always talk about?
Grant Cohn.
Grant Cohn. Grant Cohn talked about it. Jaquaski Tart is in his 6th year with the 49ers, I believe. This is the 3rd or 4th time he hasn't made it through 6 games of the year without getting hurt. And here he is again getting hurt.
I actually didn't even know that.
Yep. So how great would it be to have Xavier McKinney or Antonio Winfield Jr., who's one of the best safeties in the NFL, starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, on that back end with Jimmy Ward. And instead, we are stuck with a wide receiver who can't even get on the field, and a defensive tackle who Kyle Shanahan has just said might be out even for the rest of the season.
They suck.
It's a great way to put it, Steve.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest issues are, Steve, with the team as a whole? Let's do a roundtable deal. But what do you think, big picture, this season in a capsule, and big picture overall, what do you think the biggest issues with the team are?
All right, let me go first, because I don't really – let me get 3 things, and I don't have them all yet, but I'm hoping I come up with the other ones as I go.
All right.
As far as drafting, I do think that they're really good at the late round stuff, because they're really good at identifying guys with good character, good work ethic, that are good between the ears. And in the late rounds, when there's not a lot of talent, that works out. Get the hardworking guys. And you want hardworking guys at the top too. But
Always.
At the top of the draft, I think they're so much better evaluating that than they are talent, it seems like to me. So they get these guys that weren't really looked at as that talented, really. I think that's a big reason why they missed on draft. Number 2, I think Kyle Shanahan, and maybe even John Lynch too, they get so addicted to certain predetermined ideas sometimes. I really do think that they drafted Trey Lance and kind of thought, man, we missed on Mahomes, and he sat for a year. So let's try that with Trey Lance. Let's sit him for a year. This will be Jimmy's year. Let's sit him for a year. Just like Mahomes did. Let's do that. And even when Jimmy Garoppolo might be having his worst season, and we saw Trey Lance play, and the offense they got into Arizona territory 8 out of 10 drives. They're moving the ball really well. They don't want to make adjustments off of that first plan. And it even goes specific as in plays. I think I've heard a big reason maybe with the Ayuk thing is maybe he's not running the routes exactly how Shanahan puts it. Because sometimes Shanahan wants you to run a route an exact way when the ball isn't meant to come to you. But maybe he gets lazy on those routes where he's not getting the ball. And then lastly, I haven't thought of it yet, but I'm spitballing words, hoping that I come up with something. Shoot, sorry. All right, just 2 things.
Well, no, Steve, I'll throw this at you, kind of give you a little softball. I know we've talked about this off air. What are your thoughts, potentially your third reason for their team construction and how they go into the draft? I know you mentioned it kind of at the outset, but, potentially kind of how they pick guys and maybe some of the guys they passed on for others. What do you think?
Like, why did they pass on some guys?
Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of leads in kind of into your first reason, but maybe even a little deeper. We've talked about it off air, but guys like Ken Law and guys like McGlinchey, some of these personalities types,
Yeah, I think they fall in
as a
love with the
known mind reader.
personalities.
Was that
Sorry.
name?
I said,
Okay.
as a known mind reader, what do you think their thought process was passing on some of these people?
No, I think
No.
that they fall in love with people instead of
Yeah.
players sometimes. And that might even be the case with Jimmy Garoppolo right now.
Yeah,
But that's just a theory.
I think that's a valid point. Luke, what's your three
My theory
keys?
on the draft process.
Just overall. I know Steve gave 3. You can do however many you want.
What do you hate about the 49ers?
Yeah, like what's the issues? What do you hate? What's the issue?
Said it before. I just feel like there's no identity on offense. Like I never know what I'm going to get from week to week. Yeah, and that's just kind of it.
How do you feel about like Steve talked about the team construction? Do you think it's more so just missing on guys, being in love with Ayuk more so than Lamb or Judy? Or do you think it's more so like them looking for a specific type of guy personality wise?
That's a good question, man. And I wish I knew because they've hit on a couple guys, but they've missed on more. And I mean, really missed on more.
Yeah.
They've hit. So I don't know.
Nick, what's you and Tupac and Madonna's opinion?
No, that's actually the cast of iCarly with Tupac Shakur. Anyways, piggybacking off of what you guys are saying, because like I said, I haven't watched the game. Seems like Jimmy is not good, and the draft hasn't been good either, and the defense is solid still. So
Nice. Actually, those were all true. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been listening.
I would just like to say the thing that killed me about Nick Steele is he ducked down and there was this little minority.
Spencer, minority. That's a white male right there.
There was Spencer right behind him, and that really threw me for a loop.
Oh yeah.
I think just to close that little segment, we've talked about it ad nauseum. It does seem like the 49ers fall in love with personalities and specific traits more than talent, and that's a fine line. It's a fine line to toe. We've seen many college programs, and I know I always relate it to college, but it's a great illustration as far as with NFL. As you look at Clemson this year, all the 5-star talent they've had, all the amazing recruiting classes they've had, and they're horrible. They're a mediocre team in the ACC, and they were originally an up and coming championship contender, but they just have a massive talent, and they don't know what to do with it. And then you have teams like Notre Dame who build from a culture standpoint, build from the inside out, and they're a fine team, but they're 6-1 right now, and they don't have a shot at the championship this year. So it's a fine line to toe. It's figuring out, somewhere between those two as far as for the 49ers, do we go from a strictly talent perspective, or do we go more so from a culture standpoint? And it's hard to get those guys that fit both of those that go right down the middle. It does seem like you look at McGlinchey, what a reach that was. You look at his tape, how hard he struggled against guys in pass protection, and he's your starting right tackle. And you went to number 9 to get him. He was a borderline first-round pick. People don't talk about that enough. Solomon Thomas over guys. You did just trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, and he took Solomon Thomas, but you had Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson on the board. Tough one to take, along with Jamal. Along with these other guys that we named earlier. I don't want to misspeak, but it's an issue. And I don't know if it's a Shanahan thing or a John Lynch thing, or it's both of their things. But it does seem like, based on the latter half of the draft, they approached the draft with the same strategy. And Steve kind of helped me to see this point. They do kind of draft for personalities and a culture fit, because it doesn't work in the first few rounds, but in the back half of the draft it does, because those guys have heart. And in the first few rounds they have heart, but they suck. Javon Kinlaw was homeless. Mike McGlinchey was a captain at Notre Dame. He's a great guy, but he sucks at right tackle. Javon Kinlaw, like I said, I already mentioned him, but Solomon Thomas was a all Pac-12 guy, all borderline All-American, all Pac-12 academic guy, and you took him over potentially some iffy guys like Watson and Mahomes. So it's interesting to see where this goes long term. Hopefully they get the ship right, but I don't know. It just does seem like a mess right now. And Luke made a good point. And I'll shut up after this. They don't have an identity right now. And there's nothing more disgusting in college football, high school football, the NFL, than watching a team that is indecisive on offense. I will watch the Michigan Wolverines, the Gadsden City Titans, the Greenville Yellow Jackets, whatever high schools I'm affiliated with, Southside Panthers. I'll watch them get shredded on defense. But if they have an offensive identity, I can get behind that and I can watch it. Whether it's ground and pound, whether it's an air raid, whether it's a lot of motion, misdirection, zone read stuff, I can get behind it as long as I have an identity. But the worst thing I've had in my fandom is a 49ers fan under Chip Kelly, under Tom Sula, under Shanahan now, and under Jim Harbaugh with the Michigan Wolverines, has been a lack of an identity. When they line up, it's 2nd and 5, and you don't know what they're going to do. There's nothing more disgusting to a fan. You should know what that team's identity is. On a 2nd, 3rd down with mid yards to go, you should know what they're going to do. And the 49ers have not given us a definitive answer on what they're going to do this year. Are they a passing team? Are they a full-on rushing team? Are they a short yardage misdirection team? What are they? They do not have an identity on offense right now, in my opinion.
Here's a theory real quick.
Go ahead.
Do you remember when during the offseason the story came out that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan went to Justin Fields' pro day, remember?
Yeah.
And they said Justin Fields had an excellent pro day. John Lynch did. But he said the whole time, Shanahan, this is after they went to Trey Lance's, at Justin Fields' pro day, was sitting there on his iPad drawing plays up for Trey Lance in the 49ers offense because he was so excited about the idea of drafting Trey Lance. I wonder sometimes if maybe part of the reason, even Kyle has admitted, he said, I haven't really gotten into rhythm calling plays consistently. He said that himself just after the Indianapolis game. Is that partially because Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance are so different that he's been scheming for 2 different quarterbacks and now he hasn't fully committed to either style of offense?
I think so. And I said I would shut up after the last thing. I'll shut up after this.
We didn't believe you.
Thank you. That feeds hand in hand with the report we talked about off air, where the New England Patriots offered a 2nd-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo on draft time.
Odd.
Because they didn't know who the 49ers were going to take. They didn't know if they were going to take Mac Jones. They didn't know if they were going to take Trey Lance. They wanted Mac Jones, but they didn't know what the 49ers were taking, and they wanted to get a quarterback. They had to have a quarterback. Cam Newton proved that. Not being able to hit a 15-yard go route, you, Luke, and I, even Nick, heck, we could hit that pass. Cam Newton's so far gone over the hill, he couldn't hit that.
The heck?
Nick, you can hit that. You're a tight end O-line, but you can hit that pass. I
think you're
that's
saying
great
what the
points,
heck because
Steve.
you said even Nick.
Yeah, man, I know I could hit it. It's the fact that you said even Nick.
Well, Nick's not a quarterback.
Don't you ever question Nick's athletic prowess.
Sorry, Nick could hit that.
Oh,
Look
I'm
at
not
him.
a
Tupac could
quarterback.
hit that.
Says the
He
guy
said,
that's
hey,
not a quarterback.
I am a quarterback.
Nick is the only guy here who like fits the
We're
ideal
derailing
profile for a draft prospect. I mean, 6'3",
Nick is
6'4",
the
230. You know.
Nick's an offensive tackle.
I'm more like 720, but I appreciate the effort.
Gucci gang.
Sheesh.
all
No,
muscle.
but I do think, talking about that report, I think they thought they could recoup some of Jimmy Garoppolo's draft stock, and they've been playing him all year, praying to God that he would play good enough to recoup it.
Hasn't
And
gone.
when the Pats fell through, it's like, oh crap, well, we've got to play him because we just traded up under the assumption that we were going to get a first round pick for him. And when you didn't, you should have taken the second, man.
Yeah, I should have taken a
it's-
second for real.
It's the thing I always used to scream at the TV as a fat little 8-year-old watching Deal or No Deal with Howie Mandel on NBC. When they open the briefcase, right, and they say, pick briefcase number 20, and they open it, and it's like, you've got a deal on the table for $100,000. You've got a deal on the table for $100,000. Don't risk that for the potential $1 million with 10 cases left. Because the odds are you're gonna bust and you're not gonna get the $1 million. You're gonna blow it. And it's the same thing
with
the
deal or
49ers.
no
Nice
deal,
illustration.
that comes from overconfidence,
Exactly, Nick. That's the same thing with the 49ers front office. If you have a second round pick on the table, think about it. They traded up for Aaron Banks, who hasn't played down in football as a second round pick. They could have had that.
You know what? I'm glad that they did this. I'm glad that they didn't take that second round pick. Because now they can get a 6th rounder, and they're better at 6th rounders anyways. They're thinking ahead. They suck at second rounders.
Right.
Yeah, they'll find a gem. Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round this year. They'll find a gem in the 6th round. But yeah, in the second round, you just get Aaron Banks.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But no, it does seem like, especially that report, like you said, with Grant and Cone came out, they wanted a first round pick. And we debated all year, you and Luke and I, and even Nick, about what it would take to let Jimmy go. And me and Steve, I don't know how Luke felt or even Nick felt. I was cool with the 3rd round pick. That's what they gave up for him. I was cool with that.
Didn't they give a second rounder for him? I thought. I don't remember.
I guess it was 2nd round. Well,
I don't know. Either way,
so, No, you're right. They gave a 2nd round, but I was cool with 3rd round because that's kind of recouping your draft stock.
Yeah.
I was cool with 3rd round. I was cool with the 4th round. But the issue was you had to let him go. You cannot have what is going on this year. It's a quarterback fiasco. Whether Trey Lance is hurt or not, you cannot have a guy who knows his job is taken from him. This isn't a guy retiring. This is a guy getting fired. This is Jeff Bezos having his successor brought in before he's 65. And you told Jeff you're going to fire him. Jeff doesn't know when his last day is, but he's drawing his paycheck every week until you let him go. And that's the issue right now is nobody knows when Trey's going to start. Nobody knows when Jimmy's career is over. And you had a chance to part ways with him. You had a chance to give him a severance package, a 2-week vacation at Sayonara, but you passed on it. And now you're going to be lucky to get a 6th or 7th round pick for him in this upcoming draft.
I'm just glad 49ers didn't draft Matt Jones, man.
No, me too, man.
I said that just for Luke.
No, I appreciate it, man. How's Debo doing as a wideout? He doing all right, getting decent separation, all that stuff. I just remember.
He's having a
You
great
remember
year.
when the 49ers added Emmanuel Sanders? And I think it was the Super Bowl season, right?
Yep.
Was
Jimmy
missed him.
like from that point on, Jimmy G played so much better having that second guy, or Emmanuel might have even been the number 1. I don't know, but I don't know, man. They're not using Kittle in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't seem like. I think if they could get Jimmy G another guy, I think that would help them out a lot because I don't know. They drop plenty of passes. I mean, Jimmy G's throwing some good passes, and they'll just drop them. I get Kittle involved or something, man. Give him a shot. It's not like he's a fantastic quarterback, or it's really going to change my mind on him. But
Well, and
don't
that's
have
the
much
issue.
going for him.
That's the issue is how long you're going to stick with Jimmy G. Kyle basically said in his press conference he's not going to. You don't play your rookies, your young guys until you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. I can't tell you how many times as a Detroit Pistons fan when we've been 20-58 with 4 games left to go in the season, and it's 0.01% chance of making the playoffs. So we're gonna start. So we're gonna start our guys then playing the rookies, and it's kind of the same thing this year. If that's Kyle's strategy, it don't matter if the 49ers are 6-10 with 1 game to go in the season, and they've got to have 4 teams lose, and they've got to win their game, and 3 other guys lose in the opposite side of the division. Whatever. It doesn't seem like he's going to play the young guys. So, like Luke said, how much do you go with build around this year, whether it's trying to get Ayuk on the field, being that complementary piece that Sanders was in 19, or maybe make a trade for somebody.
I'd say just get Kittle involved, man. I mean, dude, I know he's been hurt, but golly, he was a big difference maker. I just don't know where he's been at all year.
He's really only had 1 big game, actually, before he got hurt, which I know was only 3 or 4 games or whatever, but when he was healthy, they weren't utilizing him near as much as I think. I kind of feel bad. I know he loves blocking, and he's so good. He's the best in the league at it. But, man, sometimes I think if he was in an offense like Kansas City, he could put up those crazy numbers like he did in 2018. Yeah. That record that Travis Kelce broke, that was George Kittle's record for receiving yards.
Man. I mean, I just don't get where that went.
And that was catching from Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard with half of the year because Garoppolo got hurt.
CJ beat hard.
That's true.
CJ beat hard. But I will say, it's like what Steve talked about. It does seem like the reason they're playing Jimmy Garoppolo is because they're trying to recoup the draft value, and it's the case of the ex-girlfriend who you cheated on, and now you're trying to win her back. You're trying like heck, but she's already moved on, man. And that's the issue right now. Is you had the chance to make it right and make amends with her and get her back. You had the chance to move on, get that 2nd round pick, but you passed on it. You waited on it. You were out at the bar smoking cigars and drinking all night, and she forgot about you. Same way the past forgot about you in that 2nd round pick. And now here you are, staring down the barrel of a trailer trash, white chick who's circling around.
What's happening?
I don't know, man. The point I'm trying to make.
This is worse than personal experience.
The point I'm trying to make.
Circling back.
The Patriots gave you a 2nd round pick, and you passed on it because you thought there was something better out there. And it's time to stop being that douchebag and think there's something better out there. It's time to take the pick.
You had a nice girl.
Unfortunately, now
you weren't happy. You got on Tinder and you struck out.
You struck out. That's the point, Steve. That's the point. And it really feels like they are that guy in Tinder who is swiping right on everything, hoping somebody better comes along. And they're not. I hate to tell them. They're not. They'll be lucky to get a 5th round pick, let alone a 4th or a 3rd. They had a 2nd on the table.
Yeah.
We've got Shane Gillis over here from iCarly on Nick's screen. That's great, but nobody knows where Nick's at. But no, but that, I mean, no, but I know I'm rambling. But just bring it back. It does seem like that's the issue right now. Is you're forcing it with Jimmy Garoppolo, just hoping he puts it together so you can trade him for assets. Because why else would you start him over Trey? Even if you do a run-heavy offense where Trey's keeping it 10, 15 times a game, it's a better offense than what we got going right now because at least it's getting the defense to respect the run game.
Yep. It's and looking back at our record predictions and a lot of our season predictions before the year, I guess we're idiots. Maybe
Yep.
maybe we were fools for thinking that in the midst of a quarterback controversy that it would have went so well. I mean, we kind of thought that maybe Garoppolo would start the year and they would fare well, and then have a nice transition maybe during the bye week, and then they would also be successful with Trey Lance. But no, what we have gotten is they've struggled with Jimmy Garoppolo, but are hesitant to go to Trey Lance. We're not really sure why you don't just try it if you're 2-4. So maybe it was foolish for us to think during the quarterback controversy that they would have been successful, but it has
I don't think it
not
was
gone
foolish.
the way we hoped.
I think it was foolish, Steve. I heard this being a little Michigan Jebby site that I am.
Yeah.
I was listening to some pregame shows today regarding the Michigan State game this week. Two undefeated teams.
I wonder where this is going to go.
No, but it's a former offensive coordinator who was during Michigan's worst years, but he's a really nice guy. A guy by the name of Al Borges. He coordinated Tennessee, coordinated LSU under Les Miles. Really nice guy. He's really insightful offensive mind. And he was talking about inserting Michigan's freshman quarterback. And I started thinking about not just Michigan, I started thinking about Trey Lance. And it's one of those things where he was talking about as an offensive coordinator, back when he's coordinating these deals, when you had freshman phenoms at wide receiver, running back, it's, hey, going into game week, hey, we're going to get this guy a series. Here's the plays we got drawn up for this guy. And then the game rolls around. Oh, no, not this series, not this series. We're at 3rd and 7. We can't put him in this series. Oh, okay. No. This isn't the right time. We're at the 40-yard line. We've got to cross midfield to get field goal range. No. We can't put him in then. And then before you know it, the game is over and you didn't get him the snaps you wanted. And that kind of seems like with the 49ers right now, they've got these packages allegedly for Trey Lance, and yet we don't see them. We do not see anything. So it does seem like one of those things where it's like they're really hesitant to put him in, just like you said. They've got this stuff drawn up for him, but instead of pulling the trigger on it and realizing the point in time that they're at 2-4, staring down the barrel of missing the playoffs, they're going to pass on putting him in the game.
There's a lot of looking down barrels, and that's not
having
good.
A pretty rough time, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll see what they do, and they've already announced Garoppolo's starter against Chicago, which is, I honestly, before the season, I was looking forward to Lance versus Fields, but I guess we're not going to get that. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I would imagine I think they'll beat the Bears, but I think they got Arizona after that. I mean, if they're 3-5, how do you not put the rookie in, man? But we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do. Only time is going to tell. Any final comments before we wrap this thing up?
Let's do a score prediction here for the Bears game. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that's a perfect idea.
Well, I was just gonna ask you guys real quick. So you have to fight someone to the death, and if you kill them, you get to steal their life. So who are you guys gonna fight?
So who do I want to be?
Who do you want to fight?
That I have a reasonable chance of killing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to factor that in as well.
Jeff Bezos.
So I was thinking
he'd kick
one
your
of
butt.
those rich dorks like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. I feel like those would be two pretty easy fights. You just get a bunch of money,
Joe Biden, because he's a cripple.
Okay.
Just take his legs out. Just take his legs out from under him. It's downhill from him.
Yeah, but then you'd be president. That's a lot of responsibility.
I wouldn't be president. Kamala would arrest me. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Have Barack bail.
How about you, Steve?
Let me think. Bill Cosby.
Nice.
All right, let's move on. You guys are going to do score predictions, right?
Nick,
what's up?
Nick, can I change my answer?
What's up?
OJ, because I want justice for Nicole.
Would you just? Oh, okay, yeah. That's a good answer. You could just like kill like a complete. Is OJ still alive?
Yeah, he is.
Or
He's out of
he's
prison.
in jail, right?
No,
Oh,
he's out of
he got
prison. He's got a Twitter account, and good news for him. I've got my lucky stabbing hat on.
All right, guys. I'll go first just so we can actually get on track. I will say, 'cause I'm afraid if I ask Nick, he'll just say something random. So I will say, I think the 49ers are going to win 24-20. 24-17.
20%.
Mm.
So Khalil Mack is out of this game, and I'm gonna go. And I guess on my screen, I don't know how it looks, but I've got Luke and Nick on the bottom. So I guess I'll go next. But Khalil Mack's supposed to be out for this game. I do think somebody other than Khalil Mack, obviously with him being out, is going to knock Jimmy Garoppolo out of the game, inserting Trey Lance. And I will go 21-10 49ers. Justin Fields is a fraud. He was originally recruited as a transfer by Urban Liar Meyer, and he will continue to be the source of all Bears fans' nightmares and comas that they experience for the next 20 years, considering how much draft capital they gave up for him and Mitchell Trubisky. So 49ers 21, Bears 10.
Just real quick, if 5 years go by and Justin Fields is better than Zach Wilson, I'm going to remind you every day.
No, that's fine. No, I will say this just for the audience of two extra people other than our wife's family and friends who actually do listen, are two people who were brought to us by the YouTube algorithm gods. Zach Wilson.
Here we go.
He's a storming Mormon. He's a gunslinger. Steve made a good point.
Dude.
Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, and I believe you said I might have been including this, Justin Fields, have been inserted into the worst possible situation possible throughout their careers, right? Zach Wilson has no offensive line. He has no weapons, and he is a gunslinging quarterback. And even in an offense like Chicago, he kind of reminds you of the 90s offenses that the Bears had. Even in the 49ers offense, he'd be a fine quarterback, not with the Jets. Justin Fields would be a fine quarterback for the Jaguars, the Jets, the 49ers, but not for the Bears. Not with the issues they have.
For somebody
Trey Lance would be
who,
fine.
for somebody who
Go
one
ahead.
of his biggest faults was holding the ball too long, an awful offensive line isn't what he needed. But
Correct.
all right. But speaking of awful offensive lines, Luke, do you think they'll have success against the Bears this week?
Yeah, because everybody has success against the Bears. But I don't think the 49ers will actually. I think the Bears have a good defense. I don't think they'll get it in the end zone 3 times. So I'm going 20-10 Niners.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
All right, Nick, score prediction. 56
I'm
to
gonna go
3.
Why would I say something stupid like that? I'm probably gonna go with 17 to -4 Niners. Yeah.
good.
At least you got Niners on top.
Hey, Steve, can I
Mhm.
make a
Yeah.
request while we're
Okay.
live on the podcast? While we've got
Yeah.
Nick and Luke both here, could we
Okay.
make like a general NFL prediction deal? I know we did it before, but while we've got the people together here, can we make like just to see where Nick's head's at? I'm
As far
curious, and then yeah,
like
just
what?
we got both people together, just like things we expect to see in the NFL throughout the year. Maybe just like one just bold prediction in the NFL, not
Okay.
necessarily like a Super Bowl prediction, but just a bold NFL prediction.
All
Not
right, I
like
got
a
mine.
17 to -4.
Okay,
Like
I have mine
legit.
as well.
I
All
got
right,
mine.
go ahead, Nick.
Oh, you want me to go
Go
first?
round robin. Yeah, we'll go Nick, Luke, me, and Steve.
Okay, so I'm expecting more domestic abuse, more concussions, less safety. Like I want what I want from the NFL right now is for them to take away like all the paddings, all the helmets, all that, go full rugby with it, but they don't have the technique of rugby players, so they're just gonna kill each other out there. With that being said, I also want
I'm about to mute him.
I want Robert
Griffin the third.
Downey
yeah, I
Jr.
want Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know what happened there. I want Robert Downey Jr. to be a new commentator for the
Okay,
NFL.
thanks, Nick.
You're welcome, man. Let me know
All
if
right,
you want.
let me
anything
throw
else
in
from me.
mine. The
No,
Cardinals
Luke,
win.
Luke, and with Steve, because he's the only logical guy we got. I'm gonna go on a stupid rant, and Luke's logical too.
Just a
And-
bold prediction.
Yeah, this is a bold prediction.
A bold prediction will be Trayvon Diggs will at least be in the discussion for MVP by the end of the year.
For defensive MVP or like overall MVP?
NFL MVP.
That's definitely not going to happen, but it's bold.
Not yet.
That's very bold.
That's very bold.
I thought we were going bold predictions.
That's
All
good,
right,
man.
Yeah.
All right, so I said before the year that the Patriots would win the NFC East.
And they suck.
Take that back. They suck. Mac Jones is a fraud. Not as
Dang,
bad
Luke,
of a
shots
fraud. though.
fired.
Hold on. Not as bad of a fraud. Justin Fields, Mac Jones. I would take over Justin Fields right now. Respect. Hashtag retupect. The Buffalo Bills will receive a first round bye and an advance to their first Super Bowl since the Jim Kelly era, led by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. And Tremont
Super Bowl,
Edmonds and
honestly.
Tre'Davious White, who the 49ers passed on.
Okay. Well, my bold prediction is that the Cardinals will win 15 regular season games, but lose in the first round of the playoffs.
That's a great
Well,
pick.
the first
That's
game
exactly
that
what's
they
gonna
play. First game that they play.
This is exactly what's going to happen.
All right, Luke is fondling the Mac nips. So on
He's
that
been-
note,
dude.
I think we should.
I
I know he's been doing it for
I
a
was
while.
trying so hard not to laugh during Josh's.
Yeah.
Um,
On that note, you know, it's funny, real quick. I actually came up with several, in case Luke went on a Mac high thing. I came up with several things to tear him down, but I didn't have to use.
Well,
Oh, that's
no,
fun.
hey,
You came
Steve.
up with several things to tear down stats. Tear down.
No, hey,
Okay.
just let me and Nick shut
Yeah,
up.
that's
We'll mute
actually kinda
ourselves,
true.
and I want to see Steve and Luke go at it.
Yeah. All
Just
right.
go at it over Mac, man.
Mhm.
well, I just want to say before we do
Gosh.
end. No. This is serious. I did. We discussed this last time. I did write down some jokes that I'd like to tell before the podcast is over. So I'd like to do that, but we'll see. Yeah, there's enough time.
There's not
Steve,
enough
just go with
time.
Luke over Mac. Just go with Luke over
Yeah,
Mac.
just do that. But
Nobody's watching. Just do it. We're all here.
I don't know if it's right. You know, he didn't
It's right,
challenge
man.
me.
Luke, Mac sucks. Go at Steve. There you go. There's your challenge.
No, I don't know, man. There's a. I think there's a
I'm
lot
not
of
saying he
decent-
sucks.
Yeah, time will tell, man. So I don't know. I mean, right now I think he's played pretty well, but we'll see.
Steve, facts. Present them.
Well, I just feel like these. I was kind of anticipating Luke to maybe not even seriously, but possibly jokingly say that they should have picked him at 3, and that was what was going to set me off.
Steve, they should have picked
still
Mac at 3.
not saying they shouldn't have picked him at 3.
All right. Well, here's why they shouldn't have. All right. In week 1 versus Miami, he attempted 5 yards beyond 15, 5 passes beyond 15 yards. He completed 3. That was fine. He was all right on week 1, and they lost to the Dolphins, who are horrible. Okay. Against the Jets, he had 186 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He was all right. Zach Wilson threw 4 picks to set them up and give them great field position. It was a great performance by Zach Wilson. Week 3, he actually started throwing the ball down the field. And when throwing beyond 15 yards, he was 2 for 17 with a pick. That's it. Versus the Bucs, he was fine. You know, he managed a game. He went beyond 15 yards 3 times, completed 2 and threw a pick. But I mean, they ran the ball well and he managed the game fine. He threw a pick 6, but he came back and actually threw his longest touchdown of the year after that. So, you know, not bad there. Week 5, he looked like the second best quarterback in that game. And the other quarterback was Davis Mills. So that was pretty rough. Week 6 versus the Cowboys, he had a fine stat line. It was okay. In week 7, 23 of his 24 completions were inside 14 yards. I don't know why it was more specific that time. So I'm saying I think he has great protection. Pro Football Focus rated their offensive line at 3 coming into the year, and they have had an injury or two. So you can count that. He's fine managing a game. He's not going to miss throws or lose you a game. Yeah, he's not going to miss a bunch of throws or ever lose you a game. I just don't think he's somebody who's going to go out and win you a game either. And I don't think you take someone like that, number 3. And that might even be an exaggeration. He'll have games where he has a game-winning drive, but I don't think he's somebody that can carry an offense or hasn't showed the ability to yet. That's all.
No, that's fine. I think he's a dude who can make multiple reads. Honestly, man, you say he won't lose you a game, but I feel like Jimmy G has lost us some games. So I don't know who the heck I'd prefer out of any, but I just want to win. I don't even care who's behind us. I just want to freaking win.
So here's a question. Do you think, Luke, Mac Jones' ceiling, who he will be as an NFL quarterback, is closer to Kirk Cousins or Tom Brady?
Oh, I'm sure Kirk Cousins. Who's got a ceiling like Tom Brady?
Well, Kirk Cousins is a sucky NFL quarterback. He just happens to be in a great system. And that's why I say that. Kirk Cousins was benefited by having Kyle Shanahan in an elite run game led by Robert
Kirk's done pretty well this year, right?
I think
Kirk's done okay, but he's led by Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson.
I don't remember what you said, but I feel like you sold him a tad short, but he's still not somebody I would want as my quarterback because I think it puts you in the what do they call it? The quarterback
kind of like mediocrity.
Yeah, pretty much. They have a term for it, but yeah.
Well, that's why I asked that because Kirk Cousins in Minnesota right now with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Irv Smith, Dalvin Cook is better than anything Jimmy Garoppolo's had, and that's why he's having a good year. So that's kind of why I asked about Mac. Do you think he's closer to being an average NFL quarterback? Or, I guess Tom Brady's not the right comparison. It's hard to think of somebody else who doesn't have a super strong arm and who's been a legit NFL quarterback, but do you think he's closer to the Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins type or closer towards being let's not say Tom Brady, but 10 plus years starting NFL quarterback, potentially Super Bowl contending quarterback?
I don't think he's going to be like top tier quarterback, right? You've got your top tier quarterbacks who can go out and win you some games with their plays. I don't know if he's going to be that dude, but I think he's going to be pretty solid. Trey Lance obviously has a higher ceiling for sure. My whole complaint from the beginning was I never knew who Trey Lance was, even going into the draft. And that was kind of it. And it's got a bigger ceiling for sure.
Yeah, no, and I guess that's kind of my question, not to even compare it to Trey Lance. I'm curious what Mac Jones is. I think personally he's closer towards even non-49ers. I think he's closer to being a potential Drew Brees later in his career, like when Drew couldn't stretch down the field, than a Kirk Cousins. I think that's more Mac's ceiling, but what you guys think on it. And honestly, I think I'd take that over Jimmy right now. But
if it's last year Drew Brees, then I think that's selling him a little short because last season Drew Brees couldn't throw it 10 yards, honestly. The last 5 years of Drew Brees couldn't stretch the ball downfield, to be fair. He just kept coming back for one more. So that's kind of what I mean is Drew Brees is in the tail end of his career. I would kind of compare that to maybe Mac, but it's so hard. I just didn't know if he meant the very last season.
No,
the very last one, Mac already has a better arm than that.
Drew Brees was having a hard time throwing a 5-yard slant to Michael Thomas. He was having to put some up into it. But no, I do think Mac Jones is a slightly higher a slightly higher ceiling than Jimmy Garoppolo. Sorry for the stutter. I just do wonder, hopefully it pans out to where trading up for number 3 was worth it, instead of taking him at 12. That's the issue.
Traded a lot to get him number 3. Yeah.
Definitely so. Yeah, we'll see. But you know who will be a top tier quarterback is Trey Lance. All right. On that note, we will end it. We have another game, a game that they should win against the Chicago Bears, where Josh says the quarterback is a fraud, so it should be an easy W. And hopefully we can be reviewing a win next week, so therefore we won't have Luke on.
Only losses.
But we'll be back next week to review hopefully a win. And they'll be 3-5 or 3-4 and still have some work to do. But we'll see how it goes in the rest of the season, and we'll be here to cover it. But before we leave, Josh, give us your fact of the week.
Well, apparently a flea can accelerate faster than a space shuttle. So if Jimmy Garoppolo can accelerate to the speed of a flea, then we might happen to have an offense for the rest of the year.
That would be amazing. That would be fantastic. Sounds like Trey Lance, But all right,
I would
guys.
also like to add one note.
Go ahead.
Ship going to the moon.
To the moon.
What?
To the moon. Don't worry about it, Steve.
This has been the worst conclusion
what
of
he
our
said.
history of podcasting. We will see you all next week. Thank you for listening to the handful of ones that do. We appreciate it. I'm Steven, Luke, Josh, Nick. Peace out, guys.